people to close off, closing remarks.
Chris.
We're going to start. Who are we starting with? Frances. Frances, hello, how are you? Please welcome Frances Rayner, who's from WEAll, and she's going to say what she's going to say. She's getting her jacket off. She means business. Okay. Yeah. Do you want to use this? Thanks.
Thanks, yeah, how to cut it to as little space as possible. So yeah, I'm from the Global Wellbeing Economy Alliance. Thanks everyone for being here today.
Hold it right up.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, so just want to zoom out a moment and offer a message of hope and a call to action to everyone here today. So 6 years ago, I was campaigning the anti-poverty sector in Scotland for an increase in child benefits for families on low income. I spent the last decade campaigning on various climate-related and social justice issues with some degree of success, but was absolutely sick to the back teeth of just constantly focusing on downstream fixing the damages that are wrought by an economic system that wasn't designed to meet the needs of people and nature. And read, enough is enough and prosperity without growth. But at the time, these were really fringe ideas, and I didn't really hear anyone in my sector talking about them until I happened to hear a friend and colleague say she was leaving her big NGO job to help set up the Wellbeing Economy Alliance. And I just wanted to zoom out and look at where we've come in 6 years. And when I say we, I mean like the ecosystem of change. WEAll was really started to try and bring together this nascent ecosystem of, lots of academics as particularly driving this forward around the world, but there wasn't really an overarching kind of narrative or movement behind this. So we wanted to bring together everyone to kind of collaborate, not compete, and be more than the sum of our parts. And I couldn't have dreamt 6 years ago we'd be where we are today. We often talk about the urgency of the challenges we face, but I think it's also important to remember how we have changed paradigms in history, but how long that typically takes. And we just don't have that luxury here, but we have done a lot and we can do a lot more. So in that 6 years, we now have 17 hubs around the world, from Brazil to South Africa to Sweden, across 5 continents. We have 5 governments that are part of the Wellbeing Economy Government Partnership, who are working together behind the scenes to kind of test new policies and see what they can do. Progress is slow, but still something. We've got big institutions like the World Health Organization starting to change their language to talk about the need to move to a beyond growth approach. We've got ambassadors from across the spectrum, so your Jason Hickles, your Kate Rayworth, Bayo Akamolafe, who was speaking yesterday, who are working together, which actually in social change often doesn't really happen. We're all kind of competing with each other over messaging. Just this week, just this month, we've seen the UK Supreme Court rule that emissions from new fossil fuel extraction projects need to be taken into account when permission is granted, and we've seen Vermont voting to make big oil pay for climate damages. And we've also seen just this week that the public is on our side. And I think many of us in this space kind of know instinctively that the support is there when you can talk to people in the right way. So there was polling done across 17 of the G20 countries that found that a strong majority of people want to see wealth taxes, they want to see higher corporation taxes, they want to see action on inequality, they want to see urgent action on climate change within the decade, and they want more than profit at the heart of our economic model. So they want to focus on health and well-being. So we know that the demand is there. And I think now, thinking about what we can achieve in the next 6 years, it's time to kind of take this out of academia, take it to the streets, work at the local level to bring together as diverse group of people as possible, your unions, businesses who are sympathetic, everybody, to co-create your demands. If you want to use the Wellbeing Economy banner, great. If you don't, that's fine too. In South Africa, they're using African Liberation. In Brazil, they're using Outra Economia. But yeah, co-creating those demands on a local level and working on accessible, engaging messaging and taking it to the streets would be my call to action. But thanks so much, and we can do it.
Whoa. Frances wins the award for most concise speaker. Thank you very much. I'm going to welcome Davie onto the stage. You've been seeing Davie running the show behind the scenes from Clough Jordan. I think he's going to talk about all the work that's going on outside.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk too much. I'm going to thank a few people and share some insights. So we had in the background an output design team We have Doran doing the live streaming, supported by Jack yesterday and Owen today. Killian for doing the photography and little sound bites today. And we've got a graphic recording team with Helen and Vicky and Chris. So I'm going to invite them up to share some insights from the wall. And I would like to invite you around to look around the gallery as you leave. These were us trying to capture through the 3 cards with the questions that we were asking around insights. And the Mentimeter, although we never got to the questions, we were taking them in and adding it to the graphic recording. So it was 3 cards. The yellow card was the insights, and I'm just going to share a couple of insights I looked across, hand to Vicky and to you guys to look at, I think, the obstacles, and then Chris will just give us some insights from the last one. So just looking at these boards through the lots of sessions, and well done for getting through this. There was a lot of talking at you. And that's why we were trying to design some way where your insights and observations could be shared. That wasn't just the sages on the stage, to recognize that you are all working as hard and dedicated to this cause with a lot of information to share. And that was the only way we could get it in, apart from the breakouts. So the insights, the yellow cards, which were collected, and then Vicky and Helen would add them to the graphic recording. Just a couple ones that I picked out there was, how do we make well-being, compassion, equality as exciting as capitalism? And that language, narratives, counter-narratives, and new stories are really what we need. And from that last session, from Michael Cronin, well, me adding a little bit to Michael Cronin's word, it's not just of a crisis of imagination, which I think is, we can't imagine anything different than serves this current extractive and growth-based economy. But what Michael just gave me there, that I think is a bit of an insight. So it's not just a crisis of imagination, but it's a crisis of narration. And so we have a responsibility, I think, to shape new narratives, new stories. The orange cards were obstacles.
Yeah, I guess that what I picked up from what people were saying was that, can you hear me now? That power imbalances exist still, whether that's within the institution, within the microcosms of wider society, whatever they are, and how do we level that playing field?
And related to that, one of the things we found coming through quite frequently was the absence of diversity. So if we're a monoculture, we're only reproducing the existing systems of exclusion and marginalization. So how much diversity is needed and how absent it is. And the challenges of trying to create something new within the current system, that came up a lot as well.
And so just following that, we can be overwhelmed by the current system. And so I think one version of the challenge to us is to create spaces and structures where we can welcome and include people in the conversation, in the work, in the ways we move forward. And what helps me is creating a space and structure is manageable. All of us can do that in our different places, and we can all take some responsibility for being peaceful and inclusive.
So thanks to the output design team, the whole team there. Thanks for your work, and an invitation. An invitation to look around the gallery, which is hopefully capturing some of your insights.
May I just add another output team that was upstairs? Brendan, Gerald, Richard, Deirdre, Amelie, Camilla, led by Simon, Ali, because the food, the teas, the coffees, they were, we didn't get time to include them in the drawings, but they're such a presence today.
Thank you very much. Thank you to everybody. Okay, I'm going to ask, is it Peter? Peter, why use one word when 12 will do? As I affectionately know him, but I thought he did a great job. You both did with the minister, so thank you very much for that. Thank you, Peter. Maximus Palabras.
Your hints are always so subtle.
You didn't pay me to be subtle.
I think we've reached the stage in the day when fewer words are better. I'm just going to pick out a couple of my own responses, which I hope capture some of your impressions as well about some important and emerging insights from the past day and a half. And the first thing I want to say is that the real gift has been just being here in the room with you and to do what the Wellbeing Economy Alliance Hub set out to do, to offer you an invitation and to enable, invite, celebrate and connect. And one of the things that I think that has emerged from what we have been doing is that we want to build a movement that moves us, that touches us. We want to prefigure, anticipate, and be the change. It's a bit worn now, but to be and anticipate elements of the change as we journey towards this new vision of a care-centered, compassionate, and purposeful economy. I was very touched by the empty chairs. I know it really stopped me in my tracks, and I think that was a signal about how we have to show up in future. Dermot is here, the Children and Young People's Assembly. When they emerged from their assembly, they talked about the need to regard nature as a relative. They also talked about the inclusion of the future generations, giving voice to future generations in all that we undertake in future. So Bio didn't quite have the time to really make some of the points that he might have made, but he was touching on that. Who are we? Who are we who are taking this conversation forward? And I think he wanted to talk about the lingering anthropocentrism that still informs and frames and lingers in our understanding of who is involved, whose future is at stake, and how we understand how this change, this movement, has to be different from the get-go. So that's my first thought. And so my closing thought really is that in the context of the production of knowledge and the university settings and the need to transform, democratize and restore that original notion of theory as an act of love, in the context of understanding the role of the universities, we heard that phrase, knowledge is power. But let's be tender. Let's remember that we want this movement to be carried forward by narratives, stories, inclusive stories, and the imagination, the new imaginaries as well. We want this movement to be different, to be carried by as much by incantation and recollection of the deepest memories, the deepest longings to fall in love again with the land and each other. And I think the opening session with Liam, in many ways, that was an encapsulation of what we were trying to convey to you in terms of an invitation. The invitation to join that, to utter the sound with him and accompany that incantation was really an image of the movement that we invite you to join with us. So thank you for all of your participation. Thanks.
Thank you. Are you giving Caroline something, or is that okay? Caroline, I'd like to invite you to the stage now. Thank you. Please welcome Caroline.
Thanks everyone for lasting so long, and I won't be too long. I'm actually here to say a big thank you to loads of people, but I'll be quick. It's been a jammed day, loads of things to digest, and if you don't mind, everybody who helped, we had an organising committee helping with this conference, and everyone who's there still, if you wouldn't mind coming up to the stage, I would really love to have you on the stage with me. So these are in alphabetical order. We've got John Barry, we've got Sarah Brown, if she's still here. I hope she's here. Claire Kelly, I know some people had to leave, unfortunately. Kevin Murphy, Kevin, are you still there? We've got Paddy Nelson. Great, Claire's here. Sean O'Conloyne, you still there, Sean? Yes. Davie Phillip, yes. Martin Sokol, I'm delighted you're still here, Martin. David Somek, you still here? Oh, he's had to leave, okay. And Mel Whyte. So all of these people were working on this conference, and we're a brilliant team. Thanks to all of you so much. And of course, we've also got Nuala McKeever. Please come on up. Thanks so much for all your emceeing. It's been great.
Thank you.
Thank you. I've got a couple more things and I'm almost done. So thanks everyone so much. A couple of people behind the scenes who we haven't seen who've also helped a lot. Megan Carmody, Professor Michael Cronin, who we saw on the screen, and Morag Friel from Feasta. Thank you so much, Morag. She keeps me going. Thank you, Morag. And then I'd also just like to say a big thank you to our conference sponsors. There's the Global Wellbeing Economy Alliance, which Francis was here representing. Partners for a New Economy, very interesting group there. The Department of Foreign Affairs Shared Island Unit, they funded all the artistic, cultural things that we saw, the visuals, the poetry, the music. Thanks to them for that. And the Irish Environmental Network, which is a huge support for Feasta and Cultivate. And also a big thank you to TCD for their support, fabulous support, contributing to the catering costs, and the Trinity Business School for the venue, which is brilliant to have. And I'd like to single out Una Hennigan as well. I don't know if she's here, but she's been so helpful in making sure we have access to everything we need and keeping a cool head in all of the buzzing around. We've already thanked the tech people. I'll just thank them again like that, because it's brilliant to have all of their help as well, all of the caterers and everybody. And finally, all the speakers, I'm not going to name you all, there's so many, but it's been great to hear from you all, and the conveners, and thanks everybody who came, and I'm really looking forward to continuing the conversation about this. Thanks everybody. Bye-bye. So one last.
By the way,
Sean wants.
by the way, there's one person that you've seen what she's done, but you haven't seen all the other things she's been doing over the past probably about 6 months, from organizing hundreds of Zoom calls that sometimes people didn't attend for various reasons, and filling in Slack and emails and doing applications for funding, she mentioned some of them, and filling out the requirements and fulfilling them, booking accommodation, making travel plans, and all the time preparing to meet the minister and draw up questions for the minister and to be participating in it. So we have a tiny token of appreciation, Caroline.
So it's my delight and pleasure to gift a flower to Nuala, our host. No, come here.
Oh,
Thank you very much.
can we sing Renee and Renato? Save your love, my darling, save your love. Oh, thank you. Sean told me this was for Caroline. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. We're going to end our final speaker. Well, I was going to read something. Will I do it now and finish with the voice of youth? Okay. Well, I'm not going to say I'm not going to be very long. I hate when people say I'm not going to be very long, and then they roll out 22 pages. It's been wonderful. Thank you very much. The things I take away are we need non-binary thinking about everything. There's no right and wrong. There's no this and that. There's no either or. It's everything and at a personal level and a societal level. And also to rethink our position, what's been said before. But really, I know people say, how do you know somebody's a vegan? Because they can tell you. So. But it matters a lot to me that the voice of nature and animals, particularly other species, we need to rethink, I think, rethink our position, that we are not the top of some sort of hierarchy in this world. I know we know that, but I would suggest try eating no meat for a while and see how you get on with that. Preaching over, and this is just one little poem. It's not in Irish, unfortunately, and I can't read it in the original Rumi. I don't know what he wrote it. You all heard of Rumi, the poet? 12th or 11th century. I just love this poem, and it sums up for me, wow. You know, silence really is golden, and I know there's a lot of words here, but we live in silence, and the Zen idea of emptiness isn't nothing. It's the possibility that has everything in it, the possibility of everything. So this sums that up for me, and it's a nice way to finish. And then, Saoirse, I'll ask you to finish off completely. It says, out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense. Thank you. Please welcome Saoirse.
Steve, first I want to say thank you for all the hard work with the organisers. If we want to talk about future generations, we have to have meaningful youth engagement. We have to have young people in every single conversation, not just talking about our own universities, not just talking about the niche that supposedly young people exist in. We are human beings, we have opinions, we have lives. I'm just a little sick of ageism. I'm not saying that there was ageism, but you know how it is as a young person. We are sat here again, dissecting my future. And yes, there is a lot of joy. I feel it in the room, buzzing and twisting and twining in with the grief and the fatigue. But there it is strong. And Pandora's last gift, the gift of hope, is here too. But we are sat here again, dissecting my future. What has growth meant for this planet? We have discussed the rivers and the forests. We have pulled out our books and our numbers. We have pointed to our rights, the inalienable rights that are supposedly enshrined in our laws. We deal in numbers, as if human beings are a bead on an abacus. One human being moved from poverty to sufficiency, like a bead being moved across a line. 1, 2, 3, 4, until one side is empty. We have dissected my future to shake up the abacus, to see where I might fall. And yet I can't help but think of the people. What has growth meant for this planet? It has meant bombardment, the killing of innocent children. It has meant food taken from their hands. It has meant mothers who are forced to hold their babies, to stroke their heads and whisper, "It will be okay, okay, okay." Well, we sit here discussing these things. The profit that corporations reap, stained in blood and oil, are mounting and mounting. And Ireland, in its desire to sow itself to the side of the Western war machine, has sided with the US, has allowed aeroplanes with soldiers and guns through its airports, aeroplanes that drop their cargo on the mothers who scream out for help as their child lies wrapped up and cold in their arms. What has growth meant for this planet? It has meant the abandonment of ideology, of morals. We spit on the human being in the streets who has no home to go to, as we would hiss at a dog whose teeth are bared in fear. As we pass by, the creeping feeling of disgust shames us, and yet we do nothing. We vote for the same people again and again and again. My future disemboweled like a frog in a lab. I wrote that in a time of anger, but before you applaud, the thing is, we need to have these conversations. We need to flesh this out. But if we don't go and do something about it, if we don't go on the streets, if we don't call up our representatives in the Dáil, if we don't hold them to account, if we are not angry, there's no point to any of this. We have had our language taken from us. We have had our stories taken from us. We have had everything taken from us. We need to be outraged. We cannot be indifferent. There are 40,000 people, more than 40,000 people who have been genocided in Palestine. That, at least in the sessions I've been in, has not even been mentioned today. And the reality is, the death of those people is motivated by this warped idea of Western culture, this idea driven by profit, by growth. These are not just abstract ideas, these are real realities for people. I can't get over how detached some of the conversations have felt. How, we talk about poverty, we talk about people, living on the bare minimum, the minimum wage. Sorry, I know I'm going on, but I'm just very angry. And we then go home to our comfortable beds. Yeah, and with young people, like, oh God, lads, I don't even know what to say. Like, someone said on the panel here that I was on, we don't need to worry about young people. Look at them, they're so passionate. It's true, we are passionate. But also, we are suffering in an epidemic of loneliness. We are suffering in an epidemic of poverty that your generation has caused. So we are not okay. You do need to worry about us. And honestly, you need to listen to us too, because, well, I'm a voter now, so yeah, thank you.